was slurry is odorless and colourless. It's a fume that is both odorless and colourless, which makes it very dangerous for humans to be around. And every year there's nearly some serious accident with regards to agitating slurry and the fumes knocking people out, or in the worst case scenario, actually people dying as a result of it. So there was last week there was just as a reminder on how simple things can happen. There was a case above in Longford, a farming family. They had a really lucky escape. The farmer was finishing up milking in the morning. He was the last 8 cows were going out of the parlour, and at the same time the contractor was agitating slurry, which is basically stirring it to kind of give it an even texture, about 100 metres away, just over the yard. And somehow or another the fumes came back towards the milking parlour, and they knocked out the farmer, and he was unconscious. And a family member who was visually impaired went to get help, and the farmer's wife found her husband and unconscious, and tried to rescue him, and immediately she was rendered unconscious as well.
Crikey.
Now they were very, very lucky that there were other family members about and people coming into the yard. It was a busy yard, and they were rescued, and they came to. But it was a very, very near miss, and it's just to remind people that if you're going and working with slurry, to tell somebody where you are, and to just be incredibly careful. I mean, the man who was milking the cows, he didn't see, he didn't smell the gas, he didn't see the gas, and he didn't think there could be any problem. It's probably something that's been done for years. And then his wife then to be also knocked out. If there'd been nobody else in the yard at the time, where would they be now? So again, it's just a reminder to farmers to be very, very careful around spreading slurry, and to remember it's odourless and it's invisible, and as such is a really, really serious threat.
Right, okay. Now, they're getting more cattle in Brazil.
Well, if you want now to agitate a group of farmers, this is how you do it. You'll tell them about Brazil and their extra cattle. I think farmers are very confused about what the EU and the government plans are, especially when it comes to cutting carbon emissions by cutting back on Irish livestock numbers. And why are they confused? Well, here in Ireland we're asking the 12 cow man in Belmullet to give up a cow or two and have them culled more or less, or to cut back on numbers. And in the meantime, you have Brazil forecasting an absolute explosion in its cattle herd size. And Brazil is one of the biggest cattle producers in the world, absolutely huge. And what they're planning to do now is they're going to, listen to this, they're going to expand the numbers by 24 million cattle. 24 million. Now actually, I'm not sure even if it's cattle or cows, it could be cows. 24 million. It's an annual growth of 25% a year up to 2030. And you tell that, you explain how that can be happening to the suppler farmer, as I said, in Belmullet, who's been told he's 10 suppler cows are destroying the planet. To put it in perspective, the increase in numbers they're talking about is 25 times the size of our own suppler cow population in this country. And it's a great report by Declan O'Brien and Phelan O'Neill, this week's Farmers Journal, and every farmer should read it and put it to their politicians. But the country's national herd would go to over 210 million cows by 2030. And it comes when the level of deforestation hits a 12-year high. It hit it there last year in 2020. An area the size of Mayo and Galway was stripped to extend the grazing ground for these cattle. So the farm organisations are warning that cutting back the numbers here will lead to carbon leakage by shifting productions to regions that are not as carbon efficient as we are. Like according to the UN, the average greenhouse gas footprint for beef produced in Western Europe is 2.5 times less than the global average, and over 3 times less than beef produced in Latin America.
Right.
And it really is reducing the beef and dairy production in Ireland is not going to reduce global production of these products.
But sure, will it make any difference whatsoever? Brazil doesn't care how many cows we have. They're going to do what they do.
Yeah, but I mean here, farmers are really feeling very, very frustrated and very confused. And after getting efficiency levels up, particularly in the dairy sector, since the quotas were gone or were abandoned, now they're being told to farm mainly for the environment and to hell with production. And in the meantime, this is going on. So you're only going to end up
the European Union's no control over what Brazil does.
No, they don't.
All that tells them is that the European Union cares about climate change. Brazil's run by a cutthroat version of Trump who doesn't give a damn about climate change.
Well, exactly. He doesn't give a damn, and then you end up here. We end up paying for it.
We're all going to end up paying for it. That's for sure. The entire planet will end up paying for it.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, to have 24 million extra cattle, that's the numbers that they are pushing for between now and the next 9 years. What is that, did I say? 25 times the size of our total suckler cow herd in this country. And that's just the additional cattle that they're planning on there, not what they have already, which comes to about 210 million.
Absolutely.
So I think they're the broader questions that need to be answered. You can't be just looking at a thing in a microcosm. You have to understand what the global thing is as well. And when you see that going on, you just try and convince an Irish farmer that giving up 2 cows of these 12 sucklers is going to save the planet is very, very difficult.
Right now, some